Overnight, President Joe Biden is trying to save the stimulus, and this is your stimulus check update and stimulus package update. Now, take a look, you guys. Articles coming out like this overnight. Senate Democrats, including Senator Joe Manchin, made about the way forward on the social spending bill. Here, another one Democrat likely to keep Biden's Build Back Better agenda alive. As you're hearing, there was secret overnight meeting on the stimulus reconciliation, still trying to get this through. Take a look, you guys. Is ambitious Build Back Better package on track to pass? But are the odds of success better than they were 72 hours ago? And here's another one. You guys watching Charles Senate Democrats to discuss the future of the Build Back Better bill. I have got a ton of video footage for you. We are going to be taking a look at giving you all the details, but very quickly look at this article right here. Joe Manchin joined fellow Senate Democrats for a special caucus meeting Tuesday night about the next steps for the Build Back Better Act. Just 2 days after, he said that he could not support President Joe Biden's signature legislation. Multiple sources familiar with the course confirmed that Manchin was attendance. Now you guys, I'm going to be diving into the video footage with you as they are trying to salvage the Build Back Better stimulus reconciliation. We are hearing the calls for another stimulus reconciliation bill after Build Back Better, and in this one they are saying they want to bring back the stimulus provisions of the past stimulus package, including potentially stimulus checks and employment extensions, and all the provisions they are saying that people still need. As right now, the pandemic is starting to increase. We are seeing the micro variant speed. They are saying people are going to need more financial support as we are still battling this pandemic. And speaking of the stimulus checks, we are hearing that the state, city, counties, they are finally taking that $350 billion that was allocated for them in the American Recovery Plan, and they are starting to pass their own the stimulus packages, and in many cases, their own the stimulus checks. So, if you missed that, check it out right after this video. But you guys, breaking news with the stimulus. The Congress said, some people think maybe I'm not Irish paste. I don't hold the grudge. Look, I want to get things done. I still think there's a possibility of getting Build Back Better done. Other people discuss. Democrats are still searching for a way forward on the signature part of President agenda. Senate Democrats held an emergency virtual caucus meeting a few hours ago to plot their next moves. The big question was would Joe Manchin make appearance. In fact, he did. As for what if any good, it is that remains to be seen for more. We joined by David Pultey, former Obama campaign manager, and the senior advisor to the President Mike Pompeo, brilliant Republican strategist and co-director of the Center for Political Future at the University of the Southern California, is also the co-host of the Hack on the Top podcast. Good evening to both of you. David, let's start with you. We aren't sure whether Manchin could show up, and I wasn't for anybody who was speculating whether he showed up at the virtual emergency meeting. My questions were what happens if you actually does show up, because will people be tired tongues, or are they going to have the ironing of grievances? Are they going to look for a way forward? You have any idea what happened in that meeting? I don't get, I'm not sure, in today the word, a lot of this out. So I'm sure by tomorrow morning we have the send, but I think it's just good you attended that and listen, there are no volunteers given and what happened over last week. But I still think major element of build-back better have a very good chance of passing. I think that will be the work in January that and making sure we pass the voting rights legislation that protects our democracy and doesn't turn this country into autocracy. But the truth is mentioned a lot of Democrats aren't that far apart. So this ought to be something that can get done. Is it important to get done for the country? Most importantly, but I think it also important to get done for applauded for politics because I think you are going to want Democrats to be as assisted next year about election as impossible for turnout. But also the Republicans have opposed all things, that we are democracies. You try and create long-term care, the infrastructure bill with some notable exceptions in the Senate by some braver Republican senators. So I think it's likely that this get back together. It's not going to be everything every Democrat want, but it is still going to be significant. And I have mentioned all it is important because we don't know what's going to happen after 22. I hope this doesn't happen as Democrat, but the Republican could win back. Control one chamber, maybe both, so this is your last chance. But hard for white really take a big swing here and help out 100 million of Americans. So my interest in you don't disagree with the idea of the big swing. You definitely think there's a money chamber problem here though that on one hand, the Democrats are in on policies that are known to be popular across the country amongst the voters on the both parties. On the other hand, you are worried about how this is looking and how this is going down well from the Biden's point of view. I'm conservative, so I'm not a fan of a lot of these spending programs, but he's got a huge political problem, and he needs to reset that Democrats can no longer make the mistake. They paid the big political price of confusing bipartisan control of the Senate with the ideological control, and they asked a machine to go into places where Trump machine from West Virginia, where the Trump Biden got under a third of the vote, can go. And so questions is now, can they chop it down to some of the most popular elements to pass through and then have a fight over other elements? Because it's election years and a lot of what the Senate becomes a platform to try to control the agenda of election. So they have to accept the Manchester fact of life and they have to slim it down and they got to pass something and then go on offense and other things. I think that is the smartest move for them. Can they execute it, And I'm still not sure the problem with the Build Back Better is nobody knows what is it. And if they were to break it up, they could fight on things people do understand like program 1, program 2, program 3. Even they don't pass them, they get the issue. Tell me how that worked. First of all, I'm curious as to whether you agree with my idea. We are sort of suggested yourself do it and do it in smaller bits, but how does that become reality? At what point does someone say we are going to stop talking about this as Build Back Better, or we are going to call it something else, or we are starting again? You are hearing it from the president. You heard it a little bit from the vice president yesterday, an interview with the CBS News, but what happens now? How do you turn this ship around where reality needs to dictate that? So I think it's whatever will get 50 votes in the Senate, 218 votes in the House, the Trump Biden's signature. So if that the Build Back Better 2.0, that's a little bit smaller, a little more focus rate. It is taking individual votes great. So I think its reality is going to have to drive it from political message standpoint. I do think it is sharp enough to sell one bill. It's really hard to my experience to sell big packages with have multiple parts. So it may be easier to break it up and you give each one a week. So you get on the road, you do a lot of interviews, but reality will, it kind of whatever challenging Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer say in terms, how do you get this done? Mike, you noting your agreement with that, I think, and they are got the power here, it's only thing, and I just say from Biden point of view politically, he is in trouble now because he perceived to be quick. He's bystander, so Biden out to get in front of whatever machine will actually go forward and deliver victory and move forward. And he gets starring role again and looks like he is controlled by reality is exactly what David said. Those are the three people driving the legislative ship.